Welcome everybody to episode 7 of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. Sorry, we took a couple weeks off there after Regina. That Regina plague took a whole different meaning here this year. I'm still fighting it here now, but we're excited to get back at it this week with Kord Phillips. So hope you guys enjoy.
And our supreme champion female is our national champion, Charolais. I feel the power of Tim Bullock.
She's not just a lady for a day, she's lady for life. Wheatland Lady 211H and Wheatland Bull 4170.
They've done it again. Our grand champion, supreme champion, Wheatland Cattle. Did you feel the tremor? KR Tremor 7015L from KR Land and Cattle and KFC Farms, your Charolais Supreme Champion Bull 2025.
Welcome to the Next Gen Cattle Podcast.
If you're a cattle producer who understands that stress, environment, and transition directly impact performance, this will resonate. We're Kim and Jackie from Grow Your Life, where we support producers behind the scenes because regulated humans make clear decisions that protect the bottom line. We also teach AIM, the Animal Intuitive Method, a practical body-based system used with cattle herds to help animals settle, realign, and return to function during calving, weaning, hauling, breeding, and change. When people and animals are regulated, losses go down and outcomes improve. Find us at Grow Your Life with Kim and Jackie on Apple and Spotify and at aimhealing.ca.
Welcome everybody to episode 7 of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. This week we're really excited to have Kord Phillips on after the big win in Regina. So welcome, Kord.
Hi there, yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Just how's it feel, man? I guess I haven't really got to talk to you since Regina. How does it feel kind of coming out with a big win and kind of the whole year ending on that?
Kind of lived a dream there with that moment. And yeah, still at lunch and stuff here, families, I don't know, always bringing up some other little detail kind of we've remembered. So yeah, it's, I think, going to be something we'll remember and talk about for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, well, even just, I think anyone every year you get someone new winning it or someone winning it twice like Whelan did this year. And, I think it gives everyone kind of the chills a bit once you kind of watch a video again or you hear someone talk about it or someone brings it up, right? I'm sure it's pretty exciting for sure for your whole family and the crew at KFC too.
Yeah, definitely exciting a moment for sure. And yeah, and like for Wheatland there, that's so cool for them too to do something like that back to back. And yeah, we were super excited. That's our farm's kind of first supreme win at Eggerbition, or I think maybe anywhere too. So yeah, it very surreal moment for us. Yeah, I think I guess we'll keep going and try to do it again sometime, but I don't think I think the first one will always be pretty memorable for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even I was thinking about this the other day, I guess you're probably the first family, I guess, to win Calgary, the steer deal and a Supreme in the same year. So maybe talk about, I think his name was Chuck, right? Reed steer there that
Yeah.
raised. Maybe talk about that a little bit too in terms of winning that and the story of that steer.
Yeah, pretty awesome year. Two things. I guess we'd been working to do or try to do for a while, and yeah, we were lucky enough to do it for the first time in the same year, which was crazy to kind of think about. There's a lot of stuff work out, but yeah, the steer was kind of an interesting one. Reed had started working for us that year, and he had wanted a steer, and we had kind of picked that one out. or he did there, and then it was actually, yeah, it was kind of a long progress. Actually, that steer kind of has a neat story. He had hurt himself like right after picture and video day, and um he was kind of good enough where like he was good enough to sell and all that, but yeah, Reed ended up getting him, and yeah, he was a lot of a lot of work to get the feel right. Actually, I credit my sister a lot. She really helped with him. She is in school to be an osteopath technician, I think would be the right word for that. So she's doing that for horses, but she was able to do some research, and actually she worked on the steer a lot, and just just helped him out a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's definitely, I think now in terms of all the different, I guess, things you can do to kind of try to be as successful as you can, whether it's the electromagnetic stuff with the little box thing that they do, or I think all that stuff. And I think some people think it's pretty woo woo, but I don't know. I've heard of a couple stories now that you can't deny that it helps for sure.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of stuff out there, and yeah, we're I we've used lots here, and yeah, I can say depending on your situation, yeah, there's lots of that stuff that I think is very helpful for them.
Maybe we'll go back to the story of Tremor a bit. How did that kind of all come about? He went through the sale, I know, and sold to KFC, but maybe talk about his story a bit.
Yeah, yeah, Tremor, he sold in our in our bull sale, and KFC bought him, and then I can't remember if we sold half interest or if we bought half back. But yeah, we're equal partners in the bull. And yeah, he's both years he's bred at, or I guess the first year he didn't breed at our place. He went stud, and we froze some in herd semen on him. And then he bred at Ashley's, and then he came back. Oh, I can't remember what month, but probably around Calgary time as a yearling to our place, and I kind of worked on him. He was never shown as a calf. His first show was as a yearling in the fall in Lloyd. Um, and then yeah, he bred at our place this year. I think he bred roughly 30 to 40 cows. Um, and then he went to Ashley's and he bred cows there, and yeah, I picked the bull up on my way home from Calgary, actually.
Oh wow. Yeah, so he covered a lot of cows then.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he maybe honestly too many, but
It's cool to see
yeah.
though. Sometimes you hear about them like bulls at show, right? And it's like, well, how many cows did he cover? Well, just a handful that we kind of brought into the pen for him and kind of was there. So it is really cool to see that, you know, you guys utilized them as much as you could and not knowing what happened, but like now it's man, like you couldn't have really planned that out any better for him to cover as many cows as he could.
No, no, yeah. Pretty thankful it all, yeah, worked out the way it did there. Yeah. Um Actually kind of a funny story, but yeah, we have a different herd sire called Burlington, and they're actually Tremor and Burlington are maternal brothers, and they were on, I guess they're in the breeding pastures. They shared one fence, and they did not get along. There was a lot of days there I was fixing fence, so we actually just pulled Burlington. He's an older herd sire now, and Tremor finished up his group too. So that's why there's so many, but made my job, I guess, a little easier in the spring. They're not fixing fence as much.
Yeah, for sure. And splitting two bulls that are fighting each other all the time too.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe just talk, Cord, a little bit about your operation and what you got going on there at KR with the Charolais and the Angus and the steers.
Yeah. I guess me and Dad, Mom, kind of all of us, yeah, we, I guess we kind of like all cattle, I guess. There's a little bit of everything now. But yeah, we're mostly Charolais, and we've had them for 50 years, maybe a little more. I guess of registered Charolais cattle. And we'll calve out about 300 to 320 maybe Charolais cows this year, or I guess have Charolais calves. Our embryo program's grown a lot more, so we'll have some more ET calves coming this year. And then, yeah, I probably have, I'll say 30 club calf cows, and there'll be around 40 club calves born here this year with the ET calves as well. And then there's about 15 Angus cows, all blacks, and yeah, I actually have small numbers, but I got two purebred semis. They're heifer calves this year, so yeah, there's a bit of everything. Will always kind of be, I think, the biggest numbers with our Charolais, but for kind of me personally with the club calves and stuff, and I'd like to get a couple of the semis, and I'm not sure how much higher our Angus numbers will go. I'd probably like to stay around that 20 to 30 range, and yeah, I'd really like to start getting some purebred heifers in the steer sale. So that's kind of a plan for the future, is to build up a cow herd of some of them, and yeah, have some steers and purebred heifers to sell in the fall.
Yeah, for sure. How did the steer sale kind of come about? You just had enough kicking around that you decided to start selling them?
Yeah, well, actually, I guess about when I started showing steers, um, the very first club calf steer I showed was named Robert, and he was a silver steer. He was a Smiling Bob out of a purebred Charolais cow. And then the year after that, I bought a steer from Michael Hunter. They have Charolais Hunter Charolais. And that was a red and white walks alone steer. And then after that, we kind of would breed a couple cows to raise our own 4-H steers. And as we got older and more into it, I started doing more of the jackpots and that sort of thing. And yeah, we just kind of, I loved it right away and just kept breeding more and more. And I'd sell steers privately, and yeah, it just got kind of to the point it got a little bigger every year. And I had a sale with the Rasilvia crew, the Pasholka family. And that was kind of when I was in college, and that worked really good. I could take the calves to their place, and me and the boys, yeah, we'd get the sale calves ready there. And then kind of when I graduated, it was, I was at home, and it was kind of easier to work on them at home. So I figured I'd try a sale of my own, and yeah, I guess we'll keep going with it now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you've had tons of success in terms of, where the steers are going and families they go to and price and all that. So I think it's it's definitely cool to see that you're making a go of it, and it's yeah, something really cool. What maybe talk about that steer a bit, Cord, that went to OYE. I think he would have sold to Conley's, I guess, and maybe talk about kind of having one you raised, being in that ring and going down there to help get him ready and watch him show.
Yeah, yeah, pretty fortunate for that relationship. Yeah, I help them, I guess, whenever I can get away and go across the border. I normally am helping them, and yeah, um, I was down there that fall, uh, working on their, I guess, sale calves. I think I was down there for about a week or two, maybe. Um, and before the female sale, and that was a big sale. They kind of sold a bunch of their other breeds. So they sold there's a lot of cows that sold, and yeah, I'd actually picked out an Angus heifer that I bought that year, and yeah, we just stayed in touch, and yeah, they ended up buying the steer and all that, and yeah, that was really cool. That steer kind of had a neat story too. The first show he went to was 2 days after he got there. And he went to 5 or 6 jackpots, and he was undefeated in jackpots. And then after he was done jackpotting kind of as a calf, yeah, then they didn't take him nowhere till OYE, and yeah, it was I'd never been to OYE until that year, and yeah, that's quite a show to go see.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it
And
was
even hopefully I get to make it down there this year. But I know Sam even talked about it last year. She was just like jaw dropped when she kind of started talking about it and how cool it is and how much how much they care about the junior programs down there and kind of the way it's all set up is just super cool to see for sure.
yeah, even like all the other species, I always find them really cool to look at, like some of those show pigs and the sheep and the goats, and yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe there'll be some show goats kicking around KR one day.
Maybe pigs. I always thought that'd be cool. I always thought if yeah, we weren't show cows, maybe show pigs would be pretty cool.
What do you think the biggest difference is kind of from when you started showing steers to showing now and selling them now?
Um, quite a bit's changed, I think. I think that club calf breed has come a long way. Yeah, they're pretty good cattle, I think. Like, ours kind of run with they are expected to do everything our purebred cows are, and you know breed back early, raise their calf, and have good feet and legs. And yeah, I think the biggest change, I guess, probably just the genetics. Like there's being you kind of when I was getting into it, it was monopoly, and kind of he was undisputed kind of the bull to use, like and now there's so many options, and um yeah, I don't know, they're yeah, come a long way. I think they I think they feed good. If you go to Calgary, and I mean lots of those steers are big and finished, even if they don't all turn out to win a show, there's not too many that aren't still good. I guess real world kind of feeder cattle, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What's now that you got Supreme and Regina and Calgary crossed off the bucket list, the win kind of would be your next one that you'd like to get a piece of?
Um, oh, I don't know. we'll I guess maybe farm fair. I don't know. It's just kind of the like our hometown show. We're an hour and a bit away. We got to go to the city, or I guess we go to Fort Saskatchewan, but pretty close for groceries, or Costco's in Sherwood Park where we go. So yeah, it's kind of like a hometown show for us. So might be cool to get a Supreme there, but um yeah, I don't know. Our family kind of always says if you go there hoping to win Supreme, you're probably going to be disappointed a lot more than you are happy. Yeah, we'll keep trying to do our best, I guess, and if we can get another Supreme, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What's who do you think has kind of influenced you most when it comes to the show cattle and the cattle industry in general?
Uh there's been yeah, lots of people, I guess, that have helped me out. Uh Probably dad. My dad has been I guess as influential as anybody. Yeah, I don't know, just looked up to him a lot, and I'm not really sure that, I'm doing anything different than he was, but yeah, I looked up to him, and Kirk Steerwalt would be one too. I took those clinics for a long time. Probably the last one I went to, I could have drove there myself. I was old enough, so yeah, I went to a lot of those, and I learned a lot there, and then getting I got to help a lot of different people, kind of all over, and I found every time you can help somebody new, if you pay attention and stuff, you can pick up useful tips kind of anywhere. And I guess the first show I went to, like, without my parents or not my own stuff, I just went and worked. That was for Colby Heaven. And yeah, I've learned a lot from him, and recently, honestly, getting to go help Conley's, um, Cole Atkinson, that is kinda, I guess, the manager there and works on all the show cattle and stuff. I've yeah, learned a lot from him, just feeding, and I think he's helped me. He's one of the best guys I know with a set of clippers. So yeah, any chance I get, I like going to watch him and help him, and hopefully pick up on what he's doing.
For sure. I think pretty cool too, like with the full circle moment, kind of getting to help Kirk with those clinics now at Rising Stars too, right? You as a kid, you go and you look up to those guys, and you hope one day you can kind of be like them, or do a lot of cool things like they do, and then getting to go down there and help him run those clinics too, right? For the Rising Stars, I think is super cool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It yeah, I really enjoy getting to do that clinic. Yeah, you just there's so many, kids there that are eager to learn, and kind of similar to, I guess, I was when I was young, like, just have a or had a passion for cows or show cows or whatever kind of it might be in the industry, and if you can help them a bit, it yeah, feels good to maybe give back a bit now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think me too, and Sam, I think would say the same with starting to do some clinics. I think as a kid, for me, all I wanted was to get better, and I think I didn't necessarily when I was 10, 12 years old. I was doing the best I could with a pair of 10s on my heifer because I didn't know any different, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think there wasn't really, especially growing up kind of in that little spot of Ontario, there wasn't a lot for kind of a show cattle industry. And I think now it's really cool because I see kind of, I had that drive and I wanted to be better, but I didn't have really anyone to show me, right? And I think now, even this last weekend, we did that one in Dawson Creek, and you can there's a couple kids that are there and they're doing it, but there is a couple kids that you can see it all clicks, right? And you show them how to do
Mm-hmm.
something, and they're like, wow, like that's why you do this, and then they take a step back and like it all makes sense, right? And I think that's one thing that's really cool for us too, and is kind of like you said, giving back and giving those kids a chance, that have a lot of future and they really want to do it. They just kind of need someone to push them that little more, or, show them how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, I know I always kind of, it's a joke there at the clinic, seems to bring it up to Kirk every year, but yeah, the first clinic I ever went to was in Lloydminster. And I was fortunate, to come from a family that had showed cattle, prior, and, I guess you could say knew what they're doing, right? But I showed up to the clinic and yeah, I didn't even have a chute. I showed up to a clipping clinic without a clipping chute. So um just Amirs, they're really nice people there from Lloyd, and yeah, they I got to borrow an old chute from them. And but the first day, I was tied in the, if you've been to Lloyd, the wash rack has the nice wash rack with those kind of stalls in there, and that's where I was for the first day of clipping. So yeah, it doesn't uh kind of matter, I guess, about that. So yeah, if there's a kid there that you can teach and help, and you don't have to start with everything, and it's yeah, just cool to help those kids back. I yeah, have a lot of fun doing that clinic.
Yeah, for sure. We're starting or trying this new little segment here. It's called The Host Gets Hosted. So if you got a question for me, I'll do my best to answer it the best I can.
Okay, yeah. I guess I've known you for a while, and I feel like I know a decent amount about you, but um I guess I would be curious to kind of what you think the differences are in kind of the show cattle out here compared to maybe in Ontario, or if there is a big difference, or um
Yeah, I think I would say the biggest thing is that connection to the States. I think especially kind of right in that southern Ontario kind of strip along the Great Lakes, I think you're so close to kind of that hot spot, Michigan, kind of Louisville, Kentucky area, those like really, really, some of them cool heifers and steers. And I think, the first year that I would have went to the Royal, which, I would have been like 10 or 12. And obviously I don't remember it super well, but I think then kind of much more of a Western kind of influence in terms of cattle. And I think over the years, in the past, let's say 10 or 15 years, I think that American influence has really started to kind of push into that Southern Ontario kind of group. And where I grew up, like in Kingston, kind of in between Toronto and Ottawa there, like show cattle really isn't a thing. You go into the field a couple weeks before a show and big Kingston fair, and you might have your heifer half halted broken. I think now it's really cool to see that kind of through that whole strip of Ontario, there's a lot of good cattle coming out of there, whether it's people getting genetics from out here or importing them from the States. And I think on both sides of it, I think a lot of those people are doing a really good job of trying to get out here as much as they can. And I think I think the Western community kind of forgets how far that really is, right? For us to load up and go to Toronto, everyone would be thinking we're crazy, right? And I think it's it's definitely cool to see, a lot of those animals from Ontario that, compete there and win a show here can come out here and compete and win too. So yeah, I would say that the biggest difference is that American influence, I think. Um, but I think there's a spot for both of them, both types of cattle in the industry, whether it's, American kind of cooler fronted and, big bellied and kind of that American show heifer kind of deal, or whether it's, kind of more of um, a Western cow or heifer, however you want to go about saying that.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that. But like I said, I think a lot of good in both. And I think there's a lot there's a lot of things that they do down there that, if we would just kind of try to work that into our programs up here and vice versa, I think we could learn a lot from both sides of that industry for sure.
For sure. Yeah. One thing I always thought was so cool was the big heifer show, the junior heifer show at the Royal. That's kind of similar to I guess the guys that have the steers all summer. Those kids and families are working on those heifers for a long time, and there's always so many in that deal that just looks so good. So I always thought that was a pretty cool part of the Royal. I liked seeing those heifers.
Yeah, and I think that whole Royal deal, I think we spoke about it too on a couple of podcasts before, is that there's such a vibe and such an energy about that place. Like whether it's because, it's smack dab in Toronto or, kind of like I think now in terms of, I guess, kind of the older side of the barns in Regina maybe, and I guess Farm Fair, but those barns are old. There's a lot of they still have, I remember out in the back, when I was a kid, I shouldn't say a kid, but younger, I'd always think there was these big kind of concrete pads out behind the barn and, you'd kind of wander by and you'd kind of, wouldn't really know what they were for or whatever. And then kind of as you get older, like years and years ago, they would have brought cattle from out here on a rail car all the way into Toronto, right? And there would have been, I don't know, I'd have to look up the number, but I think there would have been 400 or 500 steers there just for a steer show, right? So I think in terms of, I think even history too down there, I think there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on there. And like you said with the heifer show, especially for me experiencing it firsthand, and at that point in time when I was showing there, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was as green as they could come, and I think as a kid it gives you that kind of spark, walking in that ring and seeing kind of, what you could be one day. And I think one thing that was cool when I was there, that would have been probably 2015, 2014, they were super, super strict on the, only 4-H members were allowed to help on those animals. And I think that was also a really cool part because that was my first time that I fit on a Supreme female. And I had no idea it was a Voss heifer, from Andy Voss, and he called and was like, and I hadn't met, I had only known them for a very brief time at this point, and they didn't have anyone. He's like, you mind helping? And I was so excited because, of course, you're kind of your first chance to kind of do something.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we did anything, she stood all day. We sprayed some black paint on her and pulled her belly out a bit because it was full of shavings, and she walked in and won. And, I still remember standing in that backdrop picture being like, what am I doing here? But I think it's
Pretty
a really
cool.
cool thing. And I think, I think as a junior in those circumstances, there's a lot of good for, those show committees and that are making just juniors do it, and I think, and now that I see both sides of it, I do appreciate how, parents want to help and, you want the best for the animal and, you want the animal to do good. But I do also think there is a lot of good in making those juniors kind of, pull up their pants a bit and kind of do it on their own and seeing what happens. Right. And like I said to a lot of those kids last weekend in that clinic was there's only one way to learn, and that's to do it. Whether you put a ding in them or what, but that hair is always going to grow back. So, but yeah, I would say
Yeah,
those are kind of
yeah.
some of the biggest differences for sure. But we'll roll right into these rapid fire questions here to round out the podcast. If you're ready for them, your favorite fast food joint.
Pretty easy, McDonald's.
There you go. If you're at a show, would you rather stay in a hotel or Airbnb?
As I get older, Airbnb.
Your biggest pet peeve that you see at a cattle show?
Not getting the bellies all the way dry.
There you go. Sam would agree with you on that one.
That's a big one for me. Yeah.
If you had to pick one season, summer or winter?
Calving's my favorite time, so I'm gonna go winter.
Winter. Especially when it's -40 like today, eh?
Yeah, if you could, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the cold, but
For sure. And the last one, what's the best pizza joint you've been to in your travels?
oh, pizza joint. Honestly, Thorhild, which kind of pains me to say because I'm from Smoky Lake and we had big sports rivalries, but yeah, Thorhild's got it's Little Mama's Italian, or I'm pretty sure is the name, and yeah, they've got some pretty good pizza there.
There you go. There you go. Well, thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure to catch up, and once again, congrats on the Supreme deal. That's awesome. It was definitely fun to be a part of it, and yeah, it's one I'll remember for a long time for sure.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been a blast, and yeah, appreciate you asking me, and yeah, we appreciated your help all fall too, for sure. So thank you very much. Yeah.
For sure. Thanks, man.